Hello guys, and welcome back to O and the C on another victory. Oh, it's actually Tuesday. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers played the Giants on Monday Night Football last night. So technically it's a Victory Tuesday, but I'm still going to ask you guys to give me a shout with me. It's another Victory Monday! Before we even jump into the video, I just want to give a quick apology if this video is a little weird, if the lighting is weird, if the audio is weird. Essentially, we're doing it a little bit differently. I cannot record the way I normally record or edit the way I normally edit, so I'm stuck using an iPad, and I feel as though I'm going to be heavily limited in what I can and can't do. Regardless, you know we're going to get the video out for you guys. Victory Monday here on a Tuesday. Yesterday evening, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers played the New York Giants in New Jersey, which is kind of odd, but either way, what a game. What a game. And of course, we only talk about the positives here on O and the C. We don't like to get into the negatives, so obviously there's going to be a ton of things that we're not going to talk about. So the first thing we're going to talk about, and I really, honestly, I can't help myself. We got to talk about it right out the gate. We talked about him last week. We've already talked about him twice on this channel during the course of the season, but because he's just becoming slowly, or I almost want to say rapidly at this point, it feels like, my guy, we got to talk about him again. A&W, Antoine Winfield Jr., the man, the myth, the legend. This dude is a rookie, and he continues to make plays. Now, we could debate back and forth, your opinion versus my opinion, Joe Judge's opinion, or Bruce Arians' opinion, or the official's opinion. I think his name was Brad. So we could even go with Brad's opinion, but regardless, we're just going to talk about the play. So I'm obviously talking about the two-point conversion attempt by the New York Giants. Antoine Winfield Jr., by the way, it was the most obvious play. Teams run two-point conversion plays, and all they run are pick plays to the flat. And it's so obvious. I cannot stand it. I was sitting there at home, at home, telling everyone in the room it's going to be a pick play to the flat behind that bunch formation that they had. It was so clear and so obvious. I'm so glad that someone on the Buccaneers had enough wherewithal to make that play. So Antoine Winfield Jr., if you go back and you actually watch it, and you watch it from the start, pre-snap, identify where Antoine Winfield Jr. is on the play. Just look at where he is on the play. Look where he starts. Antoine Winfield Jr. starts all the way across the field. He's in the middle of the field, but on the far side middle of the field. The Giants do a good job of, if you're going to run a pick play, make the guy run across everybody. They make him run across not only all three of the receivers that are in the bunch to the top of the screen, but they also make him run across the whole middle of the field with linebackers and everything else. So, good play design. Antoine Winfield Jr., he's got football IQ. He knows what to do. He's got speed. He's got burst. He's got acceleration. He's savvy, even though he's just a rookie. He makes it across the entire field. He had to run maybe like 35 yards on that play in a straight line like a bullet just to get over there to have an opportunity to break up the pass. So then we get into the actual moment of truth, if you will. He made it there this early. Now, when you get to a receiver early in a situation like that, you're not expecting the ball on a flat route to be thrown inside to the receiver's kind of back shoulder or backside hip, because that's not an accurate throw. The ball should be placed out in front of him. So Antoine Winfield Jr. is trying to run through the receiver, thinking he's going to have to lay out or make some sort of a diving acrobatic attempt at this pass deflection here. Instead, the ball is behind. Antoine Winfield Jr. really does a fantastic job if you just slow it down and watch what he's doing. He slows down enough where instead of plowing through the receiver, you see a lot of people in that situation, they go into panic mode. Their brains just are in panic mode and they're like this, and they just plow through the receiver, take the penalty. They have no awareness of the field, the ball, anything like that. He realizes, based on Dion Lewis's hands and his reaction, that the ball was not thrown well. It's thrown inside, it's thrown behind, because Dion Lewis is not putting his hands out here, he's putting his hands over here. Antoine Winfield Jr. lets up off the gas, puts his arm out into the passing lane, into that window to do whatever he can to get in the way. And what, in my mind, really saves it, and nobody has talked about this, and I'm not really sure why, but when you watch it in slow motion, you can clearly see there's an attempt made by Antoine Winfield Jr. to turn his head. It's minor. It's not... I'm not saying that he saw the ball by any means. I'm saying, though, the fact that he realized oh shoot, I got to turn my head or this is going to look really bad, is such a heads-up play by a rookie, guys. Rookies panic all the time. Veterans panic all the time when the ball is in the air. The lack of an ability to be able to turn around and locate the football, that's something that's plaguing DBs across the league. None of that. He's able to have that in that moment, the wherewithal to understand, I got to look back. Because even if I still, even if I don't see the ball, just me looking back allows you to get away with a little bit more PI. If you just run into a dude and face guard him versus if you run into him and face guard him like that, looking back, it just looks better. You sold it a little bit. And that's such a veteran move. That's so savvy by him, guys. And we could, like I said, we could debate if it's a penalty. That's fine. I understand. It's totally, it's a judgment call, and I get that. But the fact that he looks back and the fact that he's actually able to contact the ball with his elbow or his tricep area, the fact that he's able to do those two things is crucial. Because even if there's contact, you could say, well, he's looking back at the ball, so it's incidental contact. Or, well, he got the pass deflection right basically at the same time as he started the contact. Without those two elements, I think it's definitely a penalty. But it wasn't. Antoine Winfield Jr., that was just such a savvy play. And we just talked about him last week. The dude makes plays every single game. Just watch him run around the field. Just an outstanding player for a young guy. You just love to see it. Love to see it. Looking like a fantastic second-round pick. So, A&W, Antoine Winfield Jr., congratulations, the first three-time member on the list this year. It's got the trifecta, and we're only halfway through the season. Next up, what we're going to talk about, and this is like a pretty underrated one, and somebody whose name I really never thought I would mention on this channel. It's a shame because this might be the last game we see him all year. But I'm going to have to say Jaydon Mickens. A huge factor in this game was Jaydon Mickens. And I can't believe it myself. Shout out to Mr. Bucks Nation. Actually had Jaydon Mickens on his channel earlier this year, this calendar year, during the offseason. I can't believe I'm saying it, but Jaydon Mickens had, I want to say 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 really crucial catches in this game. It was by far his best game as a return man, I felt like, for the Bucks. He got out past the 25 a couple times. He actually had a really heads-up play on a punt return where the ball had hit a Giants player on the return, at which point he picked it up. He didn't go anywhere with the ball, but it's a heads-up play because if you know the letter of the law, once a player of the kicking team hits the ball in that situation, there's no risk at all. The return team's allowed to pick it up, and even if they fumble, the ball is just dead. So it's a smart play to pick it up and see if you can make something happen. Then on offense, Jaydon Mickens, who knew he was going to get this many targets? I certainly didn't. Third down, fourth down, he was a chain mover. I remember they gave him the third down end around, kind of the little touch pass jet sweep action. He gets the first. Fourth down, Tom Brady steps out of the pocket and finds Jaydon Mickens. I couldn't believe it. Wow. Jaydon Mickens really stepped up, and you could argue, as weird as it is to say, or as weird as it feels to say, the Buccaneers may struggle to win this game without Jaydon Mickens. He's had that many impact plays out on the field. Just a lot of solid catches, really no misses. There was one play where he didn't continue to run through the zone. He kind of tried to sit down, and Tom Brady anticipated him sitting down in a different window in the zone. They had a little miscommunication, but that comes from just lack of reps with each other. That's understandable. Other than that, Jaydon Mickens looked incredible in this game. He also drew a pass interference penalty that set the Bucs up with the 1st and goal. So Jaydon Mickens, really, my hat's off to you, even though I have a hat on my head. My hat's off to you because if this is your last game as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, my gosh, you went out with a blaze of glory. Way to have your biggest impact at the end. That's fantastic. So shout out to Jaydon Mickens. Underrated player, but he's on the list. He made it. Next up on the list, and this is not an underrated player, however, he had an underrated performance. Big name player here on the list. We're going to go with Shaquille Barrett. Shaquille Barrett, I've been hard on this whole season. He has had a tough season. He is a 2-time member of the list now because I did talk about him, I believe, after the Broncos game. But Shaq Barrett has had a tough year, just by his own standards that he set for himself last year. So obviously last year, Shaq Barrett was immaculate. He was just fantastic. This year has been much more difficult for Shaq Barrett. 3 sacks on the year, which is not great. And one of them is a little fluky. So he's really got 2 sacks, and both of them came in the same game against the Denver Broncos, which was when he made the list. This week, however, Shaq Barrett had a huge impact, and it's not going to be on the stat sheet at all. Shaq Barrett did not register a sack, but he had a good game. Shaq Barrett getting up, interrupting passing lanes. You saw he got a pass deflection in this game, which was fantastic. You always love that. But really, both of the interceptions, Sean Murphy-Bunting's interception and Carlton Davis's interception, are 110% Shaq Barrett's play, just being made by other people. Both of those plays, right around the edge. Gets pressure on Daniel Jones. On both of them, he is holding or tugging, pulling Daniel Jones' jersey back, and Daniel Jones is trying to throw it like that, and it comes out with nothing. There's nothing behind the throw. He couldn't set his feet. He throws just a limp throw out on both of them, really, and we're able to take advantage. Carlton Davis and Sean Murphy-Bunting get those interceptions as a direct result of Shaquille Barrett. His pressure doesn't go down. You know, in the stat sheets, really there, he gets no credit for those plays, but that's a difference-making play. Credit Sean Murphy-Bunting and Carlton Davis for being there and making the play, but credit Shaq Barrett for giving them the opportunity and allowing them to make that play, because the ball would not have been thrown like that if the pocket were clean. I haven't loved what I've seen from him this season at all, but that was a big game. Finally, last but certainly not least, I just want everybody, before we even talk about it, I just want everybody to take a moment, all the real Bucs fans out there, think back to last year. Last year against the Giants, right? We played this team just last year in Tampa, okay? Now, we obviously had a huge lead in that game, and we blew the lead. We obviously, defense really let us down at the end. Daniel Jones ran it in up the gut on us. 2 rushing touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken, by Daniel Jones in that game. Regardless, defense let us down, after which the offense, Jameis Winston and Mike Evans, put us in position to win that game late. Remember, Jameis Winston throws the deep ball down the middle of the field. Mike Evans goes up, makes a great play. We clock the ball, and what happens? Ultimately, why did we lose that game last year against the Giants? Yeah. What was the difference this time around against the Giants? Because it was a low-scoring game. Our offense was nowhere near perfect. Our defense was nowhere near perfect. But having a reliable kicker makes all the difference in the world. And you see it in a game like that. Now, there's multiple games so far this year where I could have singled out Ryan Succop because he's played well all year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's been very consistent. He's not been perfect by any means, but he's been consistent. He's been solid. He's kicked longer range kicks as well as been consistent on his short kicks. This game, though, is a perfect example of why you need a reliable kicker. Because of all of his kicks, every time we sent him out there, he just casually put it through the uprights. The Buccaneers, even though they were being massively outplayed early in the game, they were able to hang in there. When you underachieve like that and you're not ready to play, having a reliable kicker can really help you out. Ryan Succop in this game, it's undeniable that they don't win the game without Ryan Succop, and I made the argument, I don't want to name names, but I made the argument that with other kickers, we would have lost this game. Ryan Succop, that was a money performance by Ryan Succop, honestly. He really did everything that the Buccaneers needed him to do. Made his kicks in a tight game, prime time. None of them were exceptional. You know, he didn't hit like a 59-yard kick or anything like that, but what they were they consistent. And that's what you need. You need a guy who just goes out there. It's not a big deal for him to just go out there and do his job. And that's what he did. Casually went out there, put the ball through the uprights. That's all we want to see. Ryan Succop, welcome to the list, and it's much deserved because he's a guy who you could have easily made an argument for 3 or 4 times already this season as a candidate for this list. So happy to see him on the list, and he deserves it. Ryan Succop, Mr. Irrelevant from back in, I think, 2007, I want to say. Mr. Irrelevant from a while ago. Very relevant for the Buccaneers yesterday. That is going to wrap up the video, guys. Again, I'm sorry. We're definitely going to have some issues. I can't wait to edit this and see how difficult it is. to edit on an iPad. It's going to be weird. So we might not have all the cool things that we normally have, music, sound effects. I don't know how it's going to go. But thank you for watching. Thank you to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for pulling that out, because this would have been a very, very different video had they have not pulled that out. That would have been a frustrating Tuesday morning. But instead, we can rejoice. We can feel good. We got the Levante David on. You already know. We got the hat, jersey in the background. It's a good Tuesday morning. A win is a win. I'll see you guys next time. Bucks, Saints, Sunday Night Football.